guys. Say morning's actually afternoon. So all these parts I got done yesterday. You can see here the door. I'm gonna spray poly on this stuff. I was thinking about spraying poly on both of them, and so SPI says to give it 24 to 48 hours before you spray poly on it. So I'm gonna need to hold off until probably Thursday to spray poly on this. So what I decided to do today, so as not to completely waste a day, is this is my truck. So I did this about, probably 3 or 4 years ago, probably something like that. And so what had happened, these trucks are really bad about rusting out through here, also in the rockers and the cab corners. That's pretty much the places that they rust out the worst. Well, most people don't know this, don't care, don't look, whatever. There's 3 plugs back here behind this. There's 3 holes basically that have little plastic plugs in them. And if it's not too late, you can get in here, pop them little plastic plugs out, and blow air and stuff or whatever and clean that out real good. Otherwise, the salt from the winters and the dirt and all that crap sits there with the moisture in it, and it rusts. And it rusts not only through here, but it'll rust this back panel out too. So when I replaced this, I replaced this inner panel also, or I should say the outer wheel well. But instead of replacing the whole bedside, which I could have done, I just fabricated out of a flat piece of metal, fabricated me a patch that probably stops right around in here, somewhere in here, and did my filler work or whatever. It seemed like I got to put a little filler on top of bare metal, and then I sprayed this matrix epoxy over top of that. Well, finding out that matrix epoxy, whatever type I got, now maybe they have a different one that's better, but this stuff sucks. And you can see here as it is started to rust back through. And so I'm going to go ahead and take this all back down and start from square one for the most part. I mean, I'm going to try to keep my filler in there if all possible, but I may end up pulling it all out of there. I don't know. But yeah, it's rusting, you know, and I should never left it like that, but it's rusting. See, all up in here, it's starting to just do surface rust. So I'm just gonna rip all that shit back down. And you know, this stuff is like chalk now. It's been so many years. Like I said, you're not supposed to do that. But another thing that's happened, which I'm kind of glad I waited now, because the truck is getting sold now. It's a 2001 model truck, and so the things that I haven't painted on it, which I've done the cab corners, the rockers on the other side, I haven't done the rockers on this side yet, and so those rockers are rusting out, and the cab corners I'm sure are probably doing the same thing. So I'm going to need to replace those. But I was noticing the other day, that's right here. And so my clear coat, and this is factory clear coat, it's just, you know, old. So eventually it starts wearing out. So had I just fixed that, I probably would have had some issues with this. So I'm kind of glad I waited. So I'm gonna go back and fix that. I'm gonna epoxy prime it probably today with a little bit of epoxy that I have left over from what I did yesterday. I'll let that sit up and cure, then I'll spray it with some high build and let that sit for a little bit, and then I'm gonna come back over and I'm gonna get this painted, because I've got the paint and I've got the clear and everything I've already bought, and I should have enough clear to do this whole bedside. So I'll just blend this out, and then I'm gonna clear the whole bedside. I gotta take this Z71 sticker off here, take this all off. I'll probably cover the whole bed in plastic, or I mean the whole truck in plastic minus just this rear bedside. And I'm gonna have to take this off also. So I've got a little bit of work ahead of me. A few things I gotta take off and tape off and all that kind of stuff. But for today, I'm just gonna rip that back down, see what it looks like, and go from there. So that's the plan. And so I'll bring you back when I get something going. See you. All right, I was gonna show you this real quick. I'm gonna rip this all the way down the metal. You can see where you know, water penetrated through to the metal. That's why you want to seal that in epoxy, or what do they call it, acid etch primer or something like that, to keep it from doing that right there. Like I said, I hadn't planned, when I did this, I had planned on doing it, you know, pretty quick, and then just dropped the ball. Ultimately got on something else and didn't go back to it. So that's just, I mean, it's epoxy primer, but obviously wasn't good enough to keep it out, plus 4 years of weather and the whole deal. But anyway, I had quite a bit down here too, so I'm gonna go ahead and rip all that filler back out of there down to bare metal and epoxy prime it and then fill it. So we're just gonna start over on this one. All right, there it is, ripped down back down the metal. I had fiberglass that, which I forgot, but makes sense because you always want to fiberglass your welds. You can see I kept the patch right through here, and then it comes down to here. Is that my best work? No, I mean, that was 4 or 5 years ago, so, you know, I was still learning, but, you know, it didn't turn out too bad. And actually, once I had it body worked in, it really, really looked nice. Really, all I needed to do is just finish it and paint it, and I would have been good. But like I said, now seeing that the clear coat's starting to peel off, I'm kind of glad I didn't and just waited. So now I'll clear coat the whole bed side, and the other bed side was in a wreck, and that's actually what got me started doing body work. For the guys that don't know the story, this side here, I had a 15-year-old girl, just got her permit, hit me in the bedside and go all the way down the side. So they put a brand new bedside on it and painted it. And when I went back to pick up the truck, I was like, wow, you guys do amazing work and the whole deal. And I said, man, I'd really like to go to Votech and learn how to do some of this stuff, and ask them about Votech's program and all that. He said, man, if you want to learn how to do body work, just come up here and I'll teach you. He said, we got students from Votech that come here all the time. He said, and I'm just going to tell you, you're going to spend $350 for, you know, a class, and they're going to teach you about safety goggles, and they're going to teach you about earplugs, and they're going to teach you about all this stuff, and you're going to waste a whole lot of money by the time you actually get to the actual doing it, beating on metal and doing the whole deal and all that. And I said, really? You're serious? He said, come in Monday. I showed up Monday, and I worked there for a year and a half, 2 years. I actually worked there 6 months for free, and then he put me on the payroll. Of course, you know, when money gets involved, and then things, you know, start expecting more and more and more, and I was kind of slow, so very particular but slow, and he wanted particular and fast. So I, you know, once I got my shop built, then I decided just to go move on down the road, which I appreciate that guy. He taught me a lot. And so I'm very thankful for him. But anyway, so yeah, that's long story longer. Before anyone gets mad about me saying a matrix epoxy sucks, I'm not saying that all matrix epoxy sucks. I could have mixed this wrong, could have been who knows what. Like I said, 4 or 5 years ago. This is what I used, and it's still almost a full can because that's all I used right there. But this is MP480. I know you can't read that. Don't know if that's, I'm assuming that's for, you know, I don't know if it's a bad, I don't know. But let me show you why I say it's not, it didn't work good for me. And I've showed these panels before. When I was trying to figure out my fish eyes, and I've had several people ask me about that just recently, all I did was up my air pressure at the gun, And because I have the Iwata, the tech sheets say to spray the Iwata at 16 psi, between 16 and 20 psi. Well, I'm spraying that thing at 29 psi to get that epoxy to atomize right. And talking to the owner of SPI, he's like, man, they're doing that for the VOCs. They want you to have the low VOC deal because of the California and the atmosphere and all this other stuff. He said, but man, it's just not realistic to spray down 16 psi. He said, you know, if you're spraying base coat and stuff like that, 20, 22 psi is about where you want to be. But to spray that epoxy, he said, man, you got to be up closer to 29, 30 psi, somewhere in that area, or 20, 28, 29 psi. So anyway, when I was trying to figure out all those pitting problems that I was having, or fish eyes, or whatever I was calling them, they weren't fish eyes, they were actually craters. I sprayed this, and I sprayed a matrix on here. So that's matrix epoxy. The rest of this is SPI gray epoxy. Alright, and I put tape down, you can see all that kind of stuff. Run those two sides to bare metal, run that to bare metal, and you can see the difference. I mean, literally, huge difference how it started peeling out like that. I mean, literally, and I mean, I know this is extreme, sitting out in the sun for years and years, whatever, but you can see the rust coming back through, whereas on the SPI, it didn't. So that's where I got to thinking, man, I probably need to rip that stuff all the way back down just to make sure that I don't have a future problem with it. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. So there you go. I just leave this shit out here for whatever reason. I probably ought to haul it off, but that was the hood that the owner of the Camaro was going to use for his car. I'm so glad he ended up getting a cow hood, because that thing was jacked. It's really like somebody pushed down real hard here. It's really bent through here. It would have been a major bitch to try to fix that. So there's that part, the one I pulled the dent out of. That extreme dent repair that I did, I talked about. That's just rattle can. What is it? Rattle can etch primer. And you can see that the rust is trying to come back through it too in several areas. I've done all kinds of tests on these things. That's weld through primer. That's acid etch primer. Let's see, I had another one. I think this is just the Walmart primer, which all really rattle can actually held up pretty damn good for what they are. But anyway, yeah, I need to do something with this. I'm looking like a, I don't know, trashy person, I guess. But I guess it runs in my family. My grandpa had a junkyard, my uncles, all of them, man, we had cars. I used to play in old 55 Chevys. They're all, you know, hollowed out, and that's how I kind of got started in all this stuff. I just fell in love with cars, just playing in them when I was a little kid. So anyway, so yeah, that's what's going on with that. So yeah, don't get mad at me. That's that epoxy. They work fantastic. Maybe I mixed it wrong. I have no clue. But this time I'm using SPI, so I'm gonna go bare to metal, and I'm gonna do it just like I'm doing the Camaro. So that's what's going on. All right, guys, I'll bring you back. Alright guys, I'm getting ready to spray. I got it all masked up, and basically this is a soft edge. I back masked that. I learned how to do all this at the body shop. Like I said, well, I wasn't a pro. They taught me what I knew, and I've kind of, you know, so pulling the tape, pulling the plastic back. If I was doing this final paint, I'll probably mask and paper the whole side or whatever I'm not doing, so because the plastic tends to shake and you get overspray and dust and whatever else is falling in your stuff. So anyway, right, so around the wherever you want to paint, normally, since this is just primer, I just did it that way. I'm just trying to keep the overspray off the truck, so, and it'll work fine. Yeah, ask me how I know about overspray. I had a Cadillac STS. I painted he let me paint the bottom rocker area of it, and I just put a plastic over it just like this. I didn't tie it at the ends and do all that. And when I shot down, it shot underneath the car and it came back up underneath the plastic on the other side. So I got to spend most of the day buffing out a freaking Cadillac STS because it felt like sandpaper. So even though this is a little tiny spot, that overspray will get all over the place. So all right, that's it. I'm gonna throw some epoxy on this and bring you back when it's finished. I'll see you guys. Well, there it is. Looks a lot the same as it did, except now it's black. And that's SPI epoxy. Now that's just over the glass, fiberglass. So I still got to do my filler work over top of that and everything else. Block it down and get it all nice and straight and the whole deal. But anyway, yeah, that's it for now. I'm gonna let that sit up, and yeah, a couple days I'll come back and do my filler work and then do my high build and let it sit for a while I'm doing the Camaro. But at least I'm getting this back on track. That way I can get it painted and get it back red. So all right guys, that's gonna be it for tonight. It's almost 9 o'clock, and I still gotta move cars around and pull stuff in and all that, so I better get after it. See you guys.